The Philadelphia Eagles stay dominant in the Meadowlands, a 48-22 win over the New York Giants to get to 12-1 on the season. The Locked On Eagles postgame show coming up next.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcoming Eagles fans to the postgame show. I'm Louis DiBiase. He's Gino Camilleri. We are recapping the Eagles' dominant 48-22 win over the New York Giants. And today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Gino, if you're a defensive coordinator that is going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, good luck getting sleep at night, because I don't know how you stop this team. And on defense, too. I mean, we've said it all week. This looks like a team that is the most talented in franchise history. And I texted you after the game, or with 6 minutes left in the game, that this team might beat the 2017 team by 100 points. I mean, it's absolutely incredible how perfect this roster looks right now at 12-1.
It's truly remarkable to see the state of this franchise in the last 5 years, and to say that a Hollywood scriptwriter could come up with something that has taken place in the walls of the NovaCare complex in the last half of a decade. You would never think of it in your wildest imagination, that the Eagles go through a Super Bowl run, which in itself was fantastic.
Right.
And what were to transpire in 2018, 19, and 20, to the Jalen Hurts story that were to take place, to the rise of Nick Sirianni, to the Jonathan Gannon's rebirth here in the second half of the season, and all of these key players that have come in free agency through the draft. Everything is working. And Lou, they're still out key guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Dallas Goedert. How is a team as good as this team going to lose? It's going to be by shooting themselves in the foot, which we saw today. When they don't do that, they are the best team in the National Football League.
Nobody can beat them,
Gino.
Gino. The Bills can't beat them. The Chiefs can't beat them. I told you before the show that you might have to join me in Philadelphia in February for the parade, because this team looks absolutely dominant. And there's so much to talk about, because, again, it's not just one thing that's doing it. It's not just one player that's carrying them on either side of the ball, one unit. You know, even in the past, sometimes it was just the lines carrying you or, you know, the run game. But no, everything is clicking, even special teams getting in on the action these last 2 weeks. But we got to yet again start with the quarterback. I mean, Gino, I didn't think they could top what they did through the air against Tennessee last week, right? Jalen Hurts had 380 yards passing in that football game, 3 passing touchdowns, right? Today, in the rain, on the road against a divisional opponent, and the last time you were there, you had like your career worst passing day ever. You go in today with 217 yards and 2 touchdowns, 21 of 31. And I thought from inside the pocket, he looked as good as he ever has. I mean, you might have to give him the MVP award right now. How he has improved from the last time he was at the Meadowlands a calendar year ago to now. I mean, we can't overlook it, especially in the decision-making department and accuracy. For a young 24-year-old to improve this much in those difficult areas, I mean, he was dealing today. And on the ground, 77 yards and a touchdown. I mean, the ultimate weapon.
One of our favorite analogies to make about this team is that they never could find that balance. And we always would say they need to find that Thanos in Endgame. He has the knife on his finger, and all great things are balanced. And this was the balanced game. After 2 weeks ago where you rushed for 363 yards, then last week you throw for 380.
This was the best of both worlds.
You went nearly identical in the air to what you did on the ground, at the back of a 1,000-yard rusher in Miles Sanders, in the hands of A.J. Brown, who just crossed 1,000 yards, Devontae Smith, who's not too far behind him. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback in the history of the entire league to rush for 10 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. He is the MVP. This is the best team in franchise history. It's the best team in the National Football League right now. And we are witnessing something that many fans of this franchise haven't seen in their entire life. Right. We're getting it all in this just short window, Lou. That once again, they put up 35 plus points in a game for the 5th time in a season. They only did that twice last year. 3 straight. They're on a roll. They score points before halftime. They get the ball and just do whatever they want. They can run it on the ground with high school level concepts.
254 rushing yards today.
All it is power, counter. But what it is, can you stop that? And no, they are tougher and they are tougher longer. Like Jason Kelce always says, they can do essentially anything they want to you at any given time of a football game. Like you said to intro this, good luck to offensive coordinators trying to stop this or trying to come up with a way to beat the defense, and good luck to defensive coordinators having to try and shut down this offense, because once Dallas Goedert comes back, the sky is the freaking limit, man. They're going to continue to put up 35 plus points every single week. And when we go back to what we missed about that 2017, and we talked about what was the downfall to 18, what was the downfall to 19, it was those poor offensive performances where you were only scoring 20 points a game. We knew that wasn't an effective margin and way to win in the National Football League. You consistently had to put up 30 plus. Well, now they're putting up 35 plus, and they're holding teams to sub 25.
Yeah, exactly. Need to with the way the defense has been playing, but the offense is 144 rushing yards today for Miles Sanders, 2 touchdowns. As you mentioned, he surpassed 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. It's the first time an Eagles running back has done that since 2014 with LaShawn McCoy. He's at 11 rushing touchdowns now. Gino, that hasn't happened since 2011, where an Eagles running back has had at least 10 rushing touchdowns. I mean, there were so many firsts today. A.J. Brown surpasses 1,000 yards, right? First time a receiver's done that since Macklin in 2014. 10 receiving touchdowns. Nobody's done that since Macklin in 2014. I mean, it's just incredible all the firsts that happened today on both sides of the ball. But, it's all gone through QB1. In the first half, he's dealing in the pocket. And the second half, when they have the lead, he's taking over on the ground. Some of the balls he threw today. I mean, you look at that 3rd and 4 conversion to Quez Watkins with a free rusher up the middle. You look at the 4th and 7 touchdown throw to Devontae Smith with traffic in front of him. It reminded me, and you texted me this, of the 2010 Monday Night Massacre in Washington, where Michael Vick is doing everything to that Washington defense. And you eventually see defenders just throwing their hands up in the air, because you used to be able to beat Hurts inside the pocket, right? Rushing him out, getting him rattled. You used to be able to beat him with the blitz even earlier this year. He's figured that out now. He just seems completely unguardable. I mean, he looks like 2018 LeBron James on the Cleveland Cavaliers, or Steph Curry in 2016, to make NBA analogies here, where it's just he's going to do whatever he wants to you one-on-one.
Nobody is more prepared for the moment than Jalen Hurts. And it comes from the confidence within him that you can't teach, like you could teach accuracy, like you could teach touch on a football, like you could try to increase a spin rate. All of that stuff means nothing if you just don't have that competitive nature, the will to win, and just that winning mentality, that inch between good and great. There are a lot of quarterbacks that have been good in the National Football League, but the ones that can be great, they have exactly what Jalen has, just that next level mentality. There was a clip that was going around during the game where it was after the A.J. Brown, it was after Devontae put those 2 guys in a blender, and A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins are they're clowning these guys on the sideline, laughing at them, and Jalen Hurts is sitting there in his coat, eyes dialed into the game, just not caring about the situation at all, just knowing that we have to get out there again and take care of business.
Right.
Like we say every week, Lou, you and I are the first 2 up to the buffet to eat all of the crow.
I will never be more wrong about a player in my entire career than I was about Jalen Hurts. I never in a million years thought he could ever get to this level as a passer. As a runner, what he did today is not a surprise at all. He's been one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the league since he came into the NFL in 2020. But, I mean, Gino, heading into this game where it might have been his best pocket performance of the year, maybe not, but it's top 3. He was heading into this game number 1 passing inside the pocket when it comes to completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, and rating. That was before this game. And then he put on the show he did in the first half. I mean, just absolutely incredible. He's the MVP. He has the best supporting cast, I think, in the NFL right now. and it was a completely dominant performance on the offensive side of the ball. But, Gino, it wasn't just the offense that took over against the Giants today. The defense, especially the pass rush, we got to talk about it coming up next. Right here on the postgame show, the Locked On Eagles podcast. Philadelphia gets the 48-22 win over the New York Giants to get to 12-1 on the season. Today's show is sponsored by Turo. Turo is the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Even find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. Test that new electric car to see if it fits your lifestyle. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com.
And when you are cruising down the road in your vehicle from Turo, make sure you are listening to our friends over at Audible. As always, this episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by Audible, who is releasing a new slate of football podcasts. Obviously, you love football if you are listening to us right here. So go check them out. You'll be able to find a sneak peek of the Think Like a Champion show and a bonus episode on Locked On Presents. Think Like a Champion is a brand new podcast from Russell Wilson and Audible. Russell Wilson alongside co-host Harry Wilson and Trevor Moawad dig into high-performance athletes, artists, and leaders that push the boundaries of their potential. Each episode features interviews with Olympic medalists, NFL stars, and business leaders. It's available wherever you get your podcast and wherever you could find Audible. Head over to Locked On Presents for a sneak peek of the Think Like a Champion show brought to you by Audible, and catch the full series available wherever you get your podcast. Available everywhere now. Audible, get in the game.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, for your second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local expert and insight only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. This is the Locked On Eagles postgame show, and we are recapping another dominant win for the Eagles. 48-22 over the New York Giants. They're 12-1 on the season now. They've scored 35 plus in 3 straight games. You got A.J. Brown now over 1,000 yards. Finally, we've got a receiver with over 1,000, a running back over 1,000 with Miles Sanders. Jalen Hurts looks like an MVP. You know, Boston Scott getting in on the action, even Gino to go deeper. Jack Stahl winning me a bet. I mean, it was a great day. It was a great day on offense, but the defense looked even better. I mean, phenomenal. I don't think, Gino, you look at the pass rush specifically, the run these defensive linemen have been on over the last, I'd say, really ever since the bye week, coming off the bye when Javon Hargrave got a little healthier and Fletcher Cox got healthier. And, you know, it got deeper. So guys were fresher when you signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. The run since then has been, I don't know if we've seen something like this since the early 2000s, the 90s. I mean, the run everybody is on right now is incredible. 7 sacks today from the defense. You got some from Hassan Riddick, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams got in on the action. I mean, it just the deepest defensive line we've seen in years, and it's top to bottom. The role players are stepping up. The stars are stepping up. Daniel Jones was running for his life just like Ryan Tannehill was.
And once again, after a season where you said, I mean, teams were running all over you, right? Yeah. Look at what the Giants were able to do today. Yeah, they ran for 123 yards, but two carries for 40 yards from Tyrod Taylor at the end of the game. You subtract that, that's 83 yards. Saquon was held to 28 in himself on 9 carries. Daniel Jones was held to 26 yards on 4 carries. Matt Breida, 6 yards on 3 carries, and Gary Brightwell, 23 yards on 5 carries. This Eagles defense is doing what Jonathan Gannon had imagined them to do. And I've said this the past couple weeks. They want to keep you behind the sticks on first down to where on second down they could drop the favorable numbers into coverage. And then on third down, he could unleash the dogs. And Lou, this isn't just one dog that's out there having a great season. It's not just 2. This is a whole freaking pack. These dogs are off the leash. You talk about 2017 putting I mean, there's 4 out there
with
per
7.5 plus. And what I was saying was they have 4 pass rushers this year with at least 7.5 sacks. And that's not even
it's crazy.
Going down the line. Fletcher Cox has 6. I mean, yeah, man, it's a complete deep unit. I mean, Hassan Riddick right now, I don't know if anybody's rushing the passer as good as Riddick. He got 10 today. Gino, talk about first. That's the first time an Eagles pass rusher has had 10 sacks at least since 2018. And he's the first edge rusher to do it in 8 years. That hasn't been done since Connor Barwin had 14 back in 2014.
That's unbelievable. And today, according to Next Gen Stats, Hassan Riddick was around 3.27 yards away from the quarterback, which is subsequently way better than the average at 4.53 yards. Brandon Graham was at 3.33. Javon Hargrave, 3.7. Overall, they are getting pressure and they are creating push at the point of attack, which will limit any offense, because as soon as you blow things up in the middle, especially for offenses, which you have seen with Tennessee and the Giants, where a lot of it is predicated off of that play action where you have to wait for things to develop and your quarterback needs 2.5 to 3 seconds to get things open downfield. The Eagles aren't even allowing you to do that. They're getting off the ball incredibly quick. They're doing it from multiple different angles. They're able to do all of these different things in different games with their defensive line now, Lou. They're just sending all of these different combinations of guys. You can't plan and find tendencies based on personnel, because what they're doing is just identifying everything with all these different personnel packages, having the luxury of having 10 different guys who can rush the passer. I mean, Patrick Johnson, look at him. He recovers a fumble, rushing the passer on the other side of Brandon Graham at the end of the game off of Tyrod Taylor. This team is 10 deep at the one position you need it. It's like going into October in baseball with a bullpen that you have your 7th inning guy, you have your 8th inning guy, you have your 9th inning guy, and you have multiple middle relievers that can take over for starters.
And you've got young players,
exactly.
You've got veterans. I mean, we got to talk about Brandon Graham, Gino. 3 sacks today. He's at 8.5 on the season. That's 1 sack away from his career high in a single year, which was 9.5 back in 2017. He is 34, coming off a torn Achilles on limited snaps, and he's 1 sack away from the most he's had in a season. I mean, Brandon Graham, you tweeted it out, give him a lifetime contract. I want him back next year. I hope they can make it work, because he is the perfect rotational third edge rushing veteran. I mean, just he's so perfect for this role, considering his age and what you have in front of him with Josh Sweat and Hassan Riddick. When those guys get tired, you throw Brandon Graham out there, who hit Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. I mean, just a huge luxury at the most important spot on defense.
I don't think it can be, or we can put enough emphasis on how big of an impact upgrading over Ryan Kerrigan and Jannard Avery was last year to this year. Where you talk about Jannard Avery, who fills in for him, Hassan Riddick, he goes out there and has 10 sacks. Ryan Kerrigan, who had a tackle on the entire season last year as your third edge, a tackle, Lou, 1. I'm pretty sure I could find my way to get 1 tackle in the National Football League by pile jumping.
I was going to say, somebody's got a running back's legs. I could hit him
exactly
down. I could get his back.
Your upgrade to that has been Brandon Graham, who is arguably the MVP of the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017, coming off of an Achilles injury, which ends the career of some people, and he might set his own career best in sacks on the season. We cannot talk about that enough, as well as the upgrade in the linebacking core with Kaiser White and TJ Edwards. Oh my God, dude. TJ Edwards maybe played the perfect game today. Yeah. He is a menace. I would not want to be hit by him play after play after play. Marcus Epps is playing at a level which is surreal. Darius Slay continues to be exceptional. So does James Bradbury. We have to give credit to all those guys. And Avonte Maddox, boy, was it good to have him back there today. Good to have him back,
for sure.
What a game. And just for 0 seconds, you had any doubt. I mean, ESPN, their percentage of losing that game that the Eagles had, it was near 99% assurity that they were going to win all game long. And one comment here from our listeners, from Kevin, win the next 2, we get the 1 seed. Let's get the 1 seed for Christmas and then rest up for the playoffs. An excellent point. You have to get that 1 seed. And things around the NFL are shaping up pretty good for the Philadelphia Eagles, Lou.
The Eagles look just as good on the road. They're undefeated this year on the road as well. I talked about the importance of that Friday, and they looked as dominant in the Meadowlands today. Before we take a break again, just to kind of recap what we were talking about with this pass rush right now. I mean, of course, as you mentioned too, on the ground, they hold another elite running back to a low game. Saquon Barkley, 9 carries for 28 yards. They stopped Derrick Henry last week, Jonathan Taylor a month ago, but getting after the quarterback too. I mean, just look at the run that so many different guys are on right now. Hassan Riddick has 4.5 sacks the last 5 games. Josh Sweat has 5 sacks in the last 5 games. Brandon Graham has 5.5 sacks the last 4 games. Fletcher Cox has a sack in each of the last 3 games. And then, as I mentioned, Milton Williams is getting in on the action. You have
Von Hargrave had 0 tackles, 0 sacks today. And
Jalen Hargrave was on a run right before all these guys got hot. So literally everybody on this defensive line is playing some of their best football. And it's just, again, hats off to Howie Roseman for what he has built up front. I don't know how many of these guys he's going to keep next year, but I would love to just run it back with this unit because, man, it's got to be impossible for an offensive line to deal with this when they have to play the entire game and these guys get to stay fresh and rotate through. So completely dominant. We'll continue to get into this matchup coming up next right here on the postgame show. The Eagles take it 48-22 over the New York Giants to get to 12-1. Guys, today's podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. Here's how Prize Picks work. And if you pick the Eagles with Prize Picks, you've been winning a ton of money. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people either. It's just you versus the projection available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch, the NFL, college basketball, college football. You got the playoff coming up soon, the NBA, the NHL when the MLB season rolls around, PGA, golf. I mean, cricket, you could do esports, MMA and boxing, you name it. It's all available at Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals as well. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 when you use our promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks is going to give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will get you $50. Don't forget to enter that promo code LOCKEDON and sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. This is the Locked On Eagles podcast. We are recapping the Eagles' dominating win on the road against the New York Giants, 48-22. And, that was fun too, man, because the Eagles have had the Giants number for like a decade. I mean, it didn't matter who the coach was, what the situation was. Philadelphia has had New York's number. And then it got shaky over the last 2 years. There were some lows. And this felt like, tradition growing up is even when the Giants would win some Super Bowls, you knew Andy Reid had their number, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and now Nick Sirianni. I mean, that was a true vintage Eagles over the Giants kind of victory.
It has that feeling to it every single year, Lou. I can think back. I remember the miracle at the Meadowlands and even once before that, but it's that mid-December game. It's right before winter break. You're getting excited. You're like, oh, we got 1 weekend of football, a week of school, then we got Christmas break coming, right? That's essentially what another one of those games was, and this was patented. It was patented. I tweeted out in the third quarter, I'm like, it must be a nightmare being a Giants fan. An absolute nightmare to be in the biggest market, being dominated the last 2 decades, you would say, outside of the Eli years.
They probably feel how we felt in that playoff game against Tampa Bay, where it's like they have a star quarterback, they have a star passing attack,
and we can't do anything.
We can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
That's probably how they feel.
And man, I'm going to tell you, this could have been way worse if it was last year. I think Brian Dable has that team in a very good spot.
I agree, for sure.
I still think there were times when the Giants, they put together that one drive where they're able to get Saquon going a little bit. They're able to put together that play action. They'll be fine in a couple years. This Eagles team, it's just a train coming down the tracks. I mean, you got to just get out of the way.
Everybody's getting this, man.
Everybody's getting it. They are a non-discriminatory offender. It doesn't matter if you're in the AFC, the NFC, if you're in the NFC East, the South, the West. It doesn't matter. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to play Philadelphia Eagle football for 4 quarters. And Lou, was this the first time we've seen a perfect football game from the Eagles since 2017? Because I was trying to think in my head. There were none in 18, 19, 20. Even last year there were moments, and even most of the year time this year it was they were up and down, and then you're thinking today even with that blocked punt, is the best thing that we have seen from this collective.
Yeah, there's
group.
always been something that you could say they needed to improve upon, even this year when there's, even early in the year, that Minnesota win felt nearly perfect. The game against Washington as well, against Pittsburgh about a month and a half ago. But you could always mention a few things. But, like the last 2 weeks especially, it's felt almost perfect. Because you also look at what the special teams unit is doing. And you mentioned the block punt. It is difficult when you're backed up in your own end zone for sure. But considering where they were 2 weeks ago, where you wanted Mike Clay gone, and I think with justified reason, this looked like the worst special teams unit in the league. But you look at the last 2 weeks, the way they're returning the ball. I mean, Boston Scott ripped off 2 big kick returns today. Britton Covey 3 weeks ago looked like he didn't belong in the NFL. The past 2 weeks, he's looked really good in the punt return game. And you see their punter get hurt, and Covey has to come in the rain and hold for Jake Elliott, and Elliott hits both the extra point and the field goal in those situations. Elliott had a nice punt today too, I thought, considering the circumstance. It's like, I feel like that special teams turnaround this last 2 weeks is a great representation of this Eagles team, where even the issues, the weaknesses they have, eventually it feels like they get it corrected. Like nothing, I feel like, snowballs down this mountain like it has in the past, where even when they were winning the same issues every single week, we'd keep talking about it. With the 2022 Eagles, I don't know, man, that doesn't happen a lot. It was special teams. In the last 2 weeks, we haven't really been able to complain, which is a great thing.
Look at what happened last week, where you were just such an undisciplined team in the offense. It was penalty after penalty after penalty. Did the offense take any penalties at all?
And then
today?
They go in the locker room and they completely clean it up. And this game, they're flawless. I mean, again, this team, they hold themselves accountable to the perfect degree.
Absolutely, Lou. And the scoreboard is going to show one thing, but all of it happens Monday through Saturday. It's so cliche, but it's so true. They know what is at stake. They know how good of talent that they have. And that was the thing about 2017, is that it always felt surreal, right? It always felt like, okay, they can't get to the playoffs and be the 1 seed. Okay, they can't win one playoff.
They can't beat the number 1 defense in the NFC title.
Exactly. And it always
they can't be the greatest dynasty ever. Yeah.
The thing that Jalen Hurts said, we are the thermostat. We set the temperature. They truly have set the temperature of many different things in the NFL right now, Lou. Passing, running the ball, how they're able to be creative with their offensive line, the numbers that they have with their defensive line, the takeaway numbers. They're setting all of these key performance indicators, and we shouldn't be shocked. This is not a surreal feeling. It's enjoying what we are seeing, and what we are seeing is fantastic freaking football. Well-coached football team with dang good personnel that is playing for the guys to the left and the right of them, and the embodiment of what Britton Covey did today. It might sound so little, but I saw that tweet and it gave me chills that Aaron Sitboss goes out and Britton Covey's he's practicing doing the holds. It's like, yeah, he's probably the emergency guy, but the 53rd guy on the roster, did he even blink an eye when it was like, I got to step up and go do this for my team?
In an in-game situation when it's raining, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you practice. He's never done that before. So even if you do that in practice, it's a lot harder in a real game situation.
What if you botch one and they get a touchdown and they're right back in that game, Lou?
I mean, special teams, and Covey mentioned it this week in a press conference, where it's like they felt more cautious in their returns because they didn't want to, put the offense in bad spots, behind the 25. But at the same time, now they're starting to rip off big kick returns. And now you're seeing the positive of when the big ones, when you give this offense half a feet, only, when they're starting at the, 42-yard line, I mean, come on. They're driving down
drives.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. So if special teams can keep this up again, Gino, like I feel for defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, anybody that's got to play this Eagles team right now.
We've gone through it. We've been that punching bag, the one that was on the bad side of it.
Oh yeah.
We've seen it. That's been the Eagles plenty of times. I don't feel bad, because when you're riding that hot hand, you have to ride that roulette until it hits black, right? If it's on red, you hit red 15 times, you don't bet against red. I don't bet against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to bet against them, Lou. For anybody that looks at the NFL and has an argument that this team isn't the most complete, the best, and arguably has the best talent from 1 to 53, I'll listen to your argument, but I'll tell you that you're crazy because right now they are not only the best team in the league, Lou, we're talking about them as one of the best teams in the history of the franchise, which is storied. This is a near 100-year-old franchise, and this is the best team that we have ever seen. And we just won a Super Bowl half a decade ago.
Right. It's incredible. The Eagles take it 48-22 over the New York Giants. Gino, we went 3-3 today with our LOE.
I don't even care. We're still positive.
Hey, we broke 500, so it's not bad. I won my Jack Stoll bet by 1 yard over Bellinger.
Oh, it was that close. Good. I know.
Yeah,
that
he had 2 catches for 20 yards. Bellinger had 4 for 9. No. 4 for 19.
So we're up 25 units in the past 2 years, folks. If you bet $100 on every bet that Lou and I have done, you would be up $2,500. That's some pretty good Christmas money.
Yeah, I agree. Gino, we got a lot more to talk about when it comes to this win tomorrow. Stock up, stock down. Make sure you guys subscribe to the show Monday through Friday. We got a podcast for you on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. And make sure you're hitting us up on Twitter, Always Talking Birds, all throughout the day. Let us know what you think at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. Once again, the Eagles take it 48-22. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, including this Eagles win, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. As always, thank you for downloading Locked On Eagles. Thank you for watching and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.